What's up, everybody? Master Reactor here, and I'm gonna do a replay of what I just did, the person I just played. I'm in second right now on the ladder, as you can see. OBS streaming now. Gonna try to put this to work. Obviously, it's not the best quality, but it is still better than the phone, I guess. People might want to see this over me holding the phone, shaking it, all this shit. So let's do a replay, and as you can tell, it is W Central over here. Win, 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 win. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Keep money on my mind, I can never get enough. Keep W's on my mind. Alright, so let's see what happened against Yamoog0at here. So here we go. I throw rock, he throws rock. He throws paper and I throw scissors. So let's fucking go. Got him. Alright. So I open Duo, Spy, Heavy Spy, Knock, and Solemn. Double Spy is not that great, but the Duo is excellent with the Solemn and the Heavy. I pick his Faith, and he throws out a Book of Moon. I decide to set Spy, set Solemn, and pass. He draws into Sangan. He decides to run the Sangan out versus running the Breaker out here. And he goes into battle and hits my Spy. And takes 1,000. I grab another one. Okay. And he sets Scapegoat and passes. I draw into Mirror Force, which is pretty dead here. So I decide to, for some reason, set Spy and set Mirror Force. Probably shouldn't have set the Mirror Force, but it is what it is. He draws into Sinister Serpent. So, let's see. He runs the Breaker out, and I decide to think about it for a second, and I Solemn Judgment it, paying half. Putting me at 35. And then he decides to set Ring and pass. I draw into a tribe, so there's really nothing I can really do. Not much. I decide to set Heavy and pass. He draws into an Apprentice Magician. Okay. He decides to set the Apprentice Magician, switch to Sangan, and pass. I draw into a Thunder Dragon. I knock the monster, banishing his Apprentice Magician, and then I discard Thunder Dragon. And I grab 2 more. There's one watcher so far, Fazo Rico. Or Phase Rico. I said Fazo. I'm so stupid. Phase Rico. So now I decide just to go into battle. And I'm sick of this thing on the board, so I just switch the Spies to attack mode. He searches for his Sangan, which is fine. And let's see what he's gonna get. He's thinking. He gets DD Warrior Lady. Okay. And I swing for 12, and he uses Scapegoat. So I decide to just leave them all, because I have the tribe here, and there's no reason to even hit one if I'm going to use tribe anyway, so I just say leave them. And I just pass. He draws into a Snatch Steal. So let's see what he's going to do here. He decides just to pass. I draw into Graceful Charity, which is pretty nice. Clutch-ass draw for me. Graceful Charity. I draw into Sork. I misclick the shuffle. Happens. I draw into Jar of Greed, and I draw into a Faith. I discard both Thunder Dragons. And decide now, instead of summoning my tribe, I hit him. Should hit the one the last time, but it is what it is. I set Jar of Greed, set Faith, and pass. He draws into a Thunder Dragon. He pitches his Thunder Dragon and grabs 2 more. Okay. And he decides to set Sinister and pass. I draw into Chaos Sork. I Jar of Greed. Into Sinister Serpent, which is pretty nice, because now I can flip this Faith And he says okay. And I grab my Graceful, drawing 3 more. I draw Snatch Steal, Sangan, and BLS. So let's fucking go. I discard Sangan and discard Sinister. And I decide to banish a Dark, banish a Light, and drop the BLS. And I banish the face down. Don't know what it is. I figured it was a DD Warrior Lady, but it wasn't. So now I just go into battle and hit him for 1200. I got all kinds of shit that will keep me safe. So it's all good in the hood. And I just passed. He's still got the range set here, so he's looking for a game shot right now. He draws into Chaos Sork. I'm pretty low on life points here, so he thinks he can get me. He drops the Chaos Sork on me and puts it in attack mode and decides to banish my BLS. He probably could have went for it there, but I did have Mirror Force, but he didn't know that. He sets his DD Warrior Lady and passes. I draw into a Deco. So now I have a few ways I could play this, but I decide to just... Let's see what I decide to do. I decide to Snatch Steal the Chaos Sork. And I grab my Serpent back because he told me about it, so thanks. Appreciate that there, buddy. I grab my Serpent. I switch the Faith to defense in case he has Mirror Force. Go into battle phase. And he decides to... He thinks about it and decides to ring his own Sork, so which is fine. So putting him down to 35 and me down to 12. I switch both the spies and set my deco and pass. He decides to Lightning Vortex, discarding his Thunder Dragon, and then he decides to flip the DD Warrior Lady. I shouldn't have Mirror Forced here. Should have just let it go, but I did. Doesn't matter. He sets Snatch Steal and passes, and it is over. I Heavy Storm him, and I decide to flip the Spy, flip the Deco Draw, summon Chaos Sork, summon Chaos Sork, summon Spy. That is the game one, so let's fucking go. Doesn't matter how I misplayed, if I did or didn't, because I ended up coming out on top. Game one. So let's see the game two. Had all kinds of good shit game one. Game one went great. Game two, he's got Scapegoat, MST, Graceful, Meta, Book, and Ring of Destruction. He Gracefuls into Pot, Faith, and Knock. So now he's got the fucking goods, pretty much. I can't do shit. All I have is Sinister, Heavy, Chaos Sork, Torrential, and Thunder Dragon. All I have is 5 cards that are not as good as his. So he discards Scapegoat and discards Meta. So I'm like, alright, that's fine. He decides to Pot of Greed into Meta and Chaos Sork. And he sets his Faith, sets MST, and sets Book and passes. I draw into a Kaiku. And decide to fire Heavy Storm. It's a good heavy because I get both of them. No Jar of Greed shenanigans. And decide to think. I discard the Thunder Dragon. And grab 2 more here. And decide to set Torrential and set Serpent. I shouldn't have set the Serpent there. That was definitely a misplay. He fires the Upstart. Draws into his Thunder Dragon now. Discards the Thunder Dragon. Grabs 2 more. And he flips the Faith. And he grabs his Graceful Charity back. He fires the Graceful. Draws into Breaker, Torrential, and Faith. Game is going wonderful, as y'all can see. He knocks the shit out of my Serpent. That sucks. He runs out Breaker. I have to Torrential because he's just going to break it anyways. And now he runs out Chaos Sork and hits me for 2300, which is fine. And he sets Ring and passes. I draw into a Deco here. So I decide to... I have no Dark Engrave, so I set Deco and pass. He draws into an Upstart. He fires the Upstart and draws into Apprentice Magician. And he goes into battle and swings. I draw into a Saku. He sets his Faith and passes. I draw into a Book of Moon. So I decide to run the Kaiku out here. He says okay. And I swing at the face down. It is a faith. So when it rains, it pours. He gets pot of greed. So he's graceful twice, and he's pot of greeded twice. So that's real fair, and I have used no Trinity pieces. And main phase 2, I banish the Chaos Sword, still trying to fight here. Set Book of Moon and pass. He draws into a Metamorphosis. He fires the Pot of Greed. And draws into Heavy Storm and Mystic Swordsman level 2. He must have boarded that in. So he sets Apprentice Position and just passes. I draw into Graceful. Okay, there's one Trinity piece at least. I fire the Graceful, hoping for a knock. I draw into Breaker, Faith, and Wing Blast. So I discard both of my Thunder Dragons. I run the Breaker out, and I decide to break it. He chains Ring. I decide to change Book of Moon here, because I feel like the Kaiku's putting in work. Unfortunately, it was not. So I go into battle phase and poke into the Apprentice Magician. And he gets another one, and my Breaker will get a counter now, which is pretty cool. And I swing into the Apprentice Magician again. He's running triple Apprentice Magician in this deck. Or just 2, I don't know, probably just 2. He gets his Faith and passes. On standby phase, I decide to Wing Blast to put the Faith back. He really doesn't have much, even after that crazy fucking opening he had, but there's nothing much I can really do. Yeah, I put the Fate back on top, and he decides to play heavy, gets rid of the Saku, he sets meta, sets torrential, and sets meta, and sets level 2 and passes. I draw into a Spy. I use Breaker, and I break the meta, and decide to switch the Chaos Sword, and swing at the monster, and then swing with the Kaiku for 18. And I get rid of both of his darks, and I pass. He draws into his Faith. So he decides to summon the Faith and then meta, which really sucks because there's nothing I can do about it. So he gets the Thousand Eyes Restrict, sucks up my Chaos Sword, and pokes over my Kaiku. I take 500, and he passes. I draw into an Upstart. I fire the Upstart. I draw into Solemn. I set the Spy, and set the Solemn and pass. Even after all of this crazy shit, I'm still kind of keeping up with him with card advantage. Not really, but, I mean, it is what it is. So he pokes over the Breaker. I take 700, which is fine. And he just passes. I draw into a Knock. I just pass. He draws into BLS. He doesn't have a Dark, so there's nothing he can really do. I paused it. Shit, I'm supposed to be playing. Alright. He goes into battle and swings through my Spy. I get the Spy. And he sets Scapegoat and passes. I draw into a Mirror Force. I set the Mirror Force and set the Knock and pass. He draws into a Knock. He goes into battle, and I decide to Mirror Force here and just say fuck it. And then he just passes. I draw into another Knock, and I decide to switch the Spy to attack mode, and he Scapegoats me. I attack one of them and pass. He draws into Tsukiyomi here. He summons Tsukiyomi and puts it down and knocks. I say okay, I can't do shit. I'm waiting for the BLS. He hits me for 11 and passes. I draw into Tribe. I should have definitely summoned Tribe here, but my dumbass just passed. Should have still just said fucking and summoned it. Really bad play here, because now he's got this duo. Getting full fucking profit with the Delinquent duo there, which is not ideal. He banishes the Dark, banishes the Light, drops the Chaos Sword. I have to Solemn it. No choice. And then he has the BLS, and that is the game. I draw on the duo next, so it really wouldn't have mattered. So we're on to Game 3. Game 3. I open Dust Shoot, Book, MST, Faith, Breaker, and Deco. Pretty okay hand here. I decide to set Deco and set 3. Wish I wouldn't have set this MST, but it is what it is. So I fire the Dust Shoot. He's got BLS, Meta, Pot, Heavy, Sinister, and Knock. So he's got hell of a hand again against me, and I really don't have much. But let's see what happens. Now he's going to fire the Heavy on me and get the +1. And he's going to fire the pot and get the +1. He draws into Ring and Thunder Dragon. He discards his Thunder Dragon and grabs 2 more. He knocks me. There goes the Deco. He's not running Deco. He sets Sinister and sets Ring and passes. I draw into a Saku. So I decide to summon Breaker and try to break, and he changed Ring of Destruction. So we both take 1600. So I set Saku and pass. He draws into Upstart. He fires the Upstart and draws into Mirror Force. So he's got plus like crazy. At this point, I'm just screaming, please use the meta, please use the meta, please use the meta. And he uses the meta. He metas his Thunder Dragon and goes for the Reaper to try to get more advantage. And I got the Saku on him. So that was a huge turnaround in this game. That probably won me the game. He sets Mirror Force and passes. I draw into Jar of Greed. I set Jar of Greed and set Faith and pass. He draws into a Book of Moon. He grabs his Sinister Serpent back. He sets it and passes. I draw into Pot of Greed. So this is when the shit got crazy. I Jar of Greed into the Duo. I fire the Duo on him. Pay 1,000. I fire the Pot of Greed. Draw Torrential and Thunder Dragon. Set the Torrential, playing around the Dust Chute just in case. Grab my Thunder Dragons. I flip Faith. Grab the Pot of Greed again. Draw 2 more. Let's fucking go. Draw into Mirror Force and knock. Okay. I tribute the Faith for the Thunder Dragon. And decide to knock. Getting rid of it. And I go into battle. Hit him for 16. He takes it. Does a Mirror Force. He draws into Chaos Sork. He does have the Dark and Lights here, which is not great. He banishes the Dark, banishes the Light, drops him, but I have Torrential, so I Torrential him. Boom, there you go. Blew out his Chaos Sork. I draw into Upstart, which is fine. I Upstart into Ring, so that's not that great. I set Ring of Destruction and pass. He draws into Vortex. He passes. I draw into PLS. I have to go for it here because if he doesn't have it, I have game. So I'm going to go for the game here. I swing, and he decides to Mirror Force it. That sucked. And then he top decks Chaos Sork again on me. He drops the Sork, and I decide just to ring it right away in case he has meta. Because if he has meta and he metas into Rai Senshi, I'm just fucked. So he sets the Vortex as a bluff and passes. I draw into Sinister, decide to run the Sinister out and swing for 300. He takes it, and I set Mirror Force and pass. He draws into Graceful, so he's been top decking like crazy on me here. He draws into Faith, Chaos Sork, and Snatch Steel. He discards Faith and Snatch Steel and drops the other Chaos Sork on me. Awesome. And he banishes the Sinister, so now he's back in the game, and I can't really do much. But I top deck Snatch motherfucking Steel. Let's go. Snatch Steel the Chaos Sork and poke him for 2,300, leaving him at 900. He gains 1,000, draws into Monster Reincarnation, which is questionable as fuck. He vortexes and pops his own Chaos Sork and passes. I draw into a Wing Blast, which is pretty dead. I set it and pass. He draws to a Faith, which is a pretty good top deck there. And he sets the Faith and passes. I draw into Heavy, which is pretty dead. I decide to Wing Blast to put it back on top. And I set Heavy and pass. He draws into the Faith again, sets it. I top deck the Knock now. Let's fucking go. Knock the shit out of it. And I banish. He banishes one, and I banish one. And I have to pass. He draws into Apparent Magician. He sets it. I draw into Solemn. I set it and pass. He draws into Tsukiyomi. He flips up his Apparent Magician, and he summons Tsukiyomi. But I'm thinking on the summon, and decide to just Solemn Judgment the Tsukiyomi. He gets me a 400, and I decide just to Mirror Force the Apparent Magician. I just don't know why I did that, but I just did it. Said fuck it. I draw into Tsukiyomi and set it and pass. He draws MST, sets it and passes. We're on a top deck war here. I draw Mind Control. I set the Mind Control and pass. He in-phase MSTs it. I'm like, fuck, okay. And he draws into Ceasefire, which is questionable again. He sets it and passes. I draw into Kaiku. And the Heavy Storm that was dead, I decide to Heavy. He chains the Ceasefire, flipping up my fucking Tsukiyomi. And I don't really know if I had to flip something down or not, but I figured it gets negated. I don't really know. I guess it's only flip effects. Let me read this. If a face-down defense vision monster or an effect monster is on the field, change all face-down defense vision monsters on the field to face-up defense. Flip effects are not activated this time. Yeah, I guess I did cheat the guy. But whatever. So I cheated him in the last second. Is what it is. Don't know what the card would have been next. But that was pretty damn funny. So, that's just the way it is sometimes. He didn't catch that. I guess Tsukiyomi still flips down because it is flipped up. But I'm not really sure. If y'all know that in the comments, let me know if you Ceasefire Tsukiyomi. I've never really been in that situation before, so it happened how it happened. But that being said, this is Master Reactor signing out. Y'all hit the like, hit the sub. It's like the 5th or 6th video of the night. Peace out. Bye. Let me go ahead and end this shit. How the fuck do you end it? What the fuck? What's going on? Oh my god, I can't even stop it. Okay, it's gonna take me 10 years just to get this off now. Fuck! Alright, there it is. Alright, there's my fucking shit right here. This is a little extra. Alright, stop.